Daniel, and Tommy said that so the SAT exam is biased, and my opponent said for cultural bias that we did not provide an example for. But Brandon did by saying that there's a current controversy over the reality television essay question, saying that students that actually watch the show were able to have more of a background than students that weren't able to because of either economic reasons or just geographic reasons, because both international students have to take the SAT and the ACT in order to take this, but not the same shows are over there, and it's not the same culture as we have here. As well, for a reason for cultural bias, that currently the SAT consists of 85 verbal and 65 math questions. And on the math section, 5 questions are typically a reference to culture. And one of these five is usually aimed toward African Americans, saying that because of the cultural differences between the races, that people are exposed to different things, and the SAT tries to implement that, but it's not useful because not everybody shares the same culture, and yeah. As well as in addition to the racial bias for the SAT, is that a study finds that the more difficult questions on on this entrance exam favors black students, while the easier questions actually favor the white test takers. As a whole, however, the whole test is skewed toward white test takers, and not because of their skills or aptitude, but because of the questions that reflect the cultural expressions and the language that are used, like in the SAT, that wouldn't normally be used in poorer households or different racial backgrounds. Tommy said something about how the SAT the reason for the SAT is to take your test skills or take your skills that you learned in high school and apply them in a test. But there is a way around that, and this is through the SAT prep classes, which is also an economical bias, because these prep classes are often expensive. They often teach students a way around the SAT instead of studying the material, because the way the writing section for the SAT works is that there is they use a machine in order to grade the papers, and like Brandon said, that it uses a ratio for minimal errors and more words, and by using this and by going to these prep classes that are usually more expensive, that the often richer are able to go to, they teach these kids the algorithm in order to get around the test, which is why two students with the same intellectual level are able to score differently on the test because of their backgrounds. One student may be richer than the other and was able to take these private classes around $2,900, while the other student would be a poor student that only had to use the materials the material that he learned in school instead of knowing that there's a way around the essay. And as Tommy said something about a disadvantage for students, that this will create a diversity in students that in students that are there already and students that come in because of this change. And this wouldn't at all be different because the same criteria would be used using high school GPAs. Just looking at the high school GPAs and how this relates to their admission, because someone with a 4 point whatever will be able to get into schools without having to worry about bombing the SAT or having to study, but are able to focus on their schoolwork and in order to get into the college that they choose. Thank you.